Alright, welcome back to Honored Madman for this hopefully bite-sized entry in the lore/predictions catalog. So yesterday I made this video about the DLC where I was talking about predictions and possibilities and all that, and I realized there's still a couple things worth mentioning when it comes to what this DLC could possibly be about. But now to bridge these two videos together. So in the last video I talked a lot about how I think time travel might be in the DLC in some way, shape, or form. Most of the last video was spent talking about how it could be set in the past, but now I'm going to talk about how it could be set in the future. But since this is a bonus video of sorts, let's get our intro out of the way first, shall we? Hope everyone is doing well. So first of all, let me get one clarification out of the way. In my last video, I said that the Greater Will wrote death out of the Golden Order and the world logic. But technically, it was Marika who sealed death away inside Malekith after his failure to keep the Rune of Death safe from thieves that would inevitably cause the Knight of Black Knives and the death of her son Godwyn. Now, ignoring that she may or may not have had a hand in this theft, who's to say the Greater Will didn't just command her to write death out of existence after a part of the rune had been stolen? You'd think that they wouldn't want that to happen again, unless of course some people think that the Greater Will orchestrated the Knight of Black Knives. Now, that's a theory I haven't heard before, and maybe it's certainly interesting, but I'm not here to talk about that. I just wanted to get that clarification out of the way. Anyway, the whole point I was trying to make was that under the Golden Order, certain things have been, in a sense, written out of the world logic, like people with horns or scales or tails, or even life through death. Like, all of that is not possible under the Golden Order. I know what you're thinking. Well, it obviously is, otherwise we wouldn't have the fundamentalist undead hunters hunting undead, we wouldn't have omen killers hunting the omen, we wouldn't have perfumers trying to treat the misbegotten who were simply born that way and aren't afflicted with anything. For whatever reason, the Golden Order does not want these vestiges of its past, possibly because they're reminded of its time when it was connected to the One Great, before it broke off and became the Greater Will that we know. And again, maybe I'm wrong there too. So under the Golden Order, these things are viewed as curses and sicknesses and ailments that either need to be treated or stamped out entirely. So I guess it's not like that these things keep popping back up after the Golden Order tried to write them out of existence. It's that they've always been there, but as an added layer of keeping them oppressed and as servants or war slaves, they have to be viewed as these curses and abominations, essentially the pariahs of society. Now again, who knows the true reason for this, but man, is it kind of fucked for all the misbegotten and omen and folks like the ancestral followers. But I've already diverted enough of this video to clarifying. So let's talk about how this game might be set in the future, or at least post-game. Now in the last video I talked a lot about how in the image we have of Shadow of the Erdtree we can clearly see two trees. One tree is sort of wrapping around the other, consuming the other. And I kept mentioning how I thought it was like the Great Tree, and we were viewing the past back before the Great Tree was broken off at its stump. Because as we know, as far as I can tell, the remnants of the Great Tree are where Siluria is at, in Deepwood Depths, and the tree is clearly broken at the top. So my train of thought was instantly like, this must be the past, but what if it's the future? What if what we're seeing is the Halig Tree taking over the Erdtree? And how would this be possible? Well, we know Miquella isn't dead according to those descriptions. Perhaps he woke up empowered with some of the Formless Mother, the Blood Star's power, and went on back to the Halig Tree and grew the rest of it to the point where it took over the Erdtree. Maybe it literally got up and moved, because the tree does kind of look like it has arms and legs if you look really close to the tree we see in that picture. So maybe it will be a post-game altered sort of version of the world with a new region or two to explore, while the world itself is under this new reign, or it's currently in the process of being taken over by this new dynasty. Maybe that's the true reason all the oracles are getting high, to signify the coming of a Formless Mother empowered Miquella, come to take over the lands between and replace the Erdtree with his Halig Tree, and the spurned of the Erdtree will inherit the lands. Could be kinda cool, but inevitably we'll probably have to stop him and kill him. That's just a fun possibility I was working over in my head. Now, what's the best way of exploring the future, or the past for that matter, without actually using time travel of any kind? That's right, as many people commented on my last video, a dream world would be a great way of exploring the past or the future, perhaps as viewed through their memories. Like, we'll see some Dark Souls 2 shit and be able to jump into somebody's memory. Whose memory? Well, the only one likely I could think of is Godwyn. We've already been into one of his dreams, the one where Fortisax is hanging out. So maybe we'll get to see the past through Godwyn's memories. Maybe the early days of the Erd Tree or the war against the ancient dragons, and just how all that played out and in what timeline, because parts of it kind of confuse me. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, if it's a dream world, that would be sort of a retread of Bloodborne. But we know from like Ashes of Ariandel and sort of like a big chunk of Dark Souls 3, FromSoft isn't really afraid of retreading familiar ground if need be. In fact, that's part of my favorite part of Dark Souls 3 and the DLC of Dark Souls 3 is seeing all these places from Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1 in this new ruined version of themselves all mashed together at the end of the world. Like how the old chaos beneath frozen Ilium Lois probably became the profaned flame of the famous profaned capital in Dark Souls 3. I mean, even the handmaidens look like Alsana. And we all remember finding Quelana and her sister in the demon ruins in Dark Souls 3. That was pretty heartbreaking. Or my personal favorite, the Booby Pyromancer. And of course the Earthen Peak windmill itself showing up in the Dreg Heap, which is my favorite area in like all of Dark Souls, or at least one of them. I really, really like that area. It really does feel like the beginning of the end of the world. So they definitely don't mind doing the occasional callback. And honestly, the dream world thing for Bloodborne is kind of fitting because Bloodborne is kind of a dream world, or at least parts of it are. It's completely in line with the lore of the game for the DLC to essentially be set inside this nightmare of this newborn Great One that's pulled in all these ancient hunters from different timelines. Unless, of course, I'm getting that wrong. It's been a while since I've done that DLC. That's how I remembered it, at least. And shit, I almost forgot about the time-traveling, dream world-style Buddhist statue Taharada Estates in Sekiro. I really do need to replay that game. So it's definitely a recurring trope when it comes to From Software games. Some would go so far as to say that it's like a staple of the series, and honestly I kinda agree. But maybe this game will be both Miquella and Godwyn centered. We know Miquella was trying to revive, presumably Godwyn, by draining the literal sun of all of its energy, but as I stated in the last video, that doesn't appear to have worked out too well. However, if Miquella's Haligtree is like moving around and trying to take over the Erd Tree like my first crackpot theory, perhaps Miquella wants access to those roots that Godwyn has infested so that he can spread the Haligtree across all of the lands between. Now I can't imagine he'd want the Deathblight to be infesting the roots too, so that could lead to us having to deal with Godwyn to finally put him out of his misery. Maybe Miquella even helps us with this, only for it to be revealed that we helped him achieve his goal of taking over the lands between for the Formless Mother, leading to us either having to kill him or become his lord, which is, well, it makes us no better than Mob. So yeah, when it comes to the whole dream world thing, it'll probably be the dream of, you guessed it, either Godwyn or Miquella. Since they're both demigods, and well, I guess one of them is an Empyrean, but they're slumbering in these altered states of existence. Their carbon was indeed altered. I mean, look at how Godwyn is rather magnificently turning himself into a giant basilisk, and really who knows what's going on with Miquella besides he's slumbering inside a cocoon with his arm reaching out of it. What's he reaching out at? Who knows? Could it perhaps be the Blood Star? In all likeliness, though, I think it's more skewed towards being about Miquella or Miquella-centric, but it could just as likely feature both of them, and I could likely be wrong, which is something I've never really been afraid of since I've been making videos. I mean, I'm obviously going to be wrong or make little mistakes or forget things as I make videos. That's just who I am, especially when you're brewing as many potions as I'm brewing. It can be easy to forget finer or important details occasionally. That's why I kind of got to make sure I stop throwing out my notes after I make a video, because it's like, what's the point, you know? I still need those notes. Or I could just watch the video, I guess. Or maybe it'll be something I forgot to put in a video, or something I forgot to say, you know, stuff like that. Like, so I'm not afraid of being wrong or forgetting stuff. In fact, since both of these videos are just blatant speculation, they'll probably end up being wrong about a bunch of shit, but that'll actually, to me, make these more entertaining to watch after the finished DLC has come out. There's just something about watching somebody or listening to somebody make a bunch of predictions that we as the viewer know aren't going to come to fruition because we've seen the finished product. Maybe I'm in the minority there, but I like to revisit stuff all the time, like what people thought The Last Jedi was going to be about before it came out, what people thought The Rise of the Skywalker was going to be about. Most of all, though, what people thought the final couple seasons of Game of Thrones were going to be about. And you hear all these possibilities that actually seem super likely and these great theories, and you just sit there and you know that none of this was capitalized on. And I'm not saying everything should capitalize on all the insane theories that pop up, but I mean, they have to at least be better than some of them, right? Like, they have to be better than some of those stupid theories, but they weren't. In fact, they were actively and aggressively much worse. So, again, I'm getting off topic. We're here to talk about DLC. I saw some video about it posted the other day, and it was like a leaked trailer, and it was sort of just like a zoom in, like an animated zoom in, of the of that promotional image we got. And I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if that was official or if someone just made it, but it was pretty low quality, so maybe it was leaked. I don't know. It's just something I saw this morning when I turned on YouTube, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Again, this is all heavy speculation, and I didn't want to make this video as long as the last one. Actually, I might cut it short here. Just thought it would be a pretty fun follow-up. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention this really cool idea that somebody commented. Now, there's obviously a lot of cool ideas and a lot of great write-ups I get in the comments every time I post one of these videos, and I can't thank you guys enough for those. But this person's idea really stuck in my head. It basically reads that we enter the DLC by leaving the door in the round table hold instead of fast traveling out of it, and the DLC is a copy of the rest of the world, or at least a portion of it, or a dream world part of it, or a past or post-game part of it. But when you leave the round table hold, you're in this altered version of like Leyndell, as if you'd left the real round table manor. I'm probably butchering how they meant that, but I think you guys get what I mean. It reminded me of like how when you arrive at the Hunter's Nightmare, it's like an alternate dream world past version of the chapel with all your friends and the floor presence in the main game of Bloodborne. That's what the comment reminded me of anyway, but as always, I'm done rambling for today. If you guys got any theories or if I got anything wrong, please let me know in the comments. As always, I hope you guys found this enjoyable or at least entertaining. If you disliked it, please dislike it. If you liked it, please like it. And if you like hearing me rant on and on and on, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. We're almost at 15K, which I never saw coming, honestly. I can't thank you guys enough for that. All the support really goes a long way. The next video is probably going to be sort of goofy, but it's something I'm really proud of, so I hope you guys really like it. But that's enough hyping up my future stuff. Let's get our outro and let's have some final thoughts. As far as the dream world thing goes, I guess it's just as likely that it could be Miquella's dream, since he is known as the slumbering demigod, or the slumbering Empyrean or whatever. Although if that's the case, I can't imagine what kind of horrors we might see inside his mind. Although perhaps when we show up there, he'll recognize Torrent and be our guide, sort of like filling a Melina type role. And I'm pretty sure Melina was his sister anyway, but I'm getting off topic. As always, you guys have a good one. See ya.